Hello and welcome to the Business of the Business podcast. I am your co-host JP John Poz from the Two Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me, my co-host, the financial wrestling genius himself, Mr. Lavie Margolin. Lavie, how you doing today?
Hey, John. We often say a special day, but our most prolific guest and really one of the biggest movers and shakers in pro wrestling today is kind enough to join us once again, Brett Lauderdale of GCW. Welcome back, Brett.
Gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be back with you on this fine Thursday.
Brett, you've got so much stuff going on. I mean, what's the latest on the collective? I mean, that's going to be huge coming up very, very shortly here, WrestleMania weekend. So what's going on with the collective?
Yes, we are 1 week away from the start of the collective. In just, in exactly 7 days from right now, we will kick off in Philadelphia. 11 shows in 3 days, joined by some great partners: Defy, Tokyo Joshi Pro, DDT, Progress, and of course, all of the great GCW shows return: Bloodsport, Spring Break, For the Culture, Effie's Big Gay Brunch, and more. It's a loaded lineup. Tickets, not a lot of tickets left. Many of the shows are already sold out. But the lineups are interesting and exciting. Everybody's really fired up. Fans, the crews, and I think this is in line to be. I mean, of course I'm biased, but I think this is in line to be the best collective yet. To be honest.
When you're setting up the collective, do most people reach out to you and want to be a part of it? Because I'm guessing that's the way it would probably work, right?
So yes, of course, a lot of people reach out to me, and of course, there's always people that I want to be part of the collective as well. So, um, the thing is now, we're in such a groove, and there's only so many slots to go around. Of course, I can't accommodate everybody who wants to be a part of it. So, we go on. We've kind of got some partners established now, and DDT is a repeat partner, and they're great partners, and they do great business. And this year they brought Tokyo Joshi Pro along with them, and so excited to have them. We wanted to have them in the past, but this year the planets kind of aligned. Same with Progress, and there's others too. That I talked to, and it was close to happening, but just the planets didn't align this year, and we ran out of slots. So. I mean, it's a combination. There's always targets, and there's always people who want to be a part of it. So just kind of see how the cards shake out.
What are you most excited about? Like what would be like, hey, this is the best thing. Maybe not the best, but just maybe the most thing you're excited about for the collective.
Well, Spring Break, of course, is our big show every year, and that's the show that changed GCW. And in my opinion, it had influence on the entire wrestling industry all the way to the top. I truly believe that. So every year I look forward to Spring Break, but and this year's no different. And Bloodsport, again, another one. I think, of course, as we all know, now we're seeing some WWE talent in Bloodsport. We have Shayna Baszler announced, and then I think there may be more that are going to be unannounced. So I think it's a historically significant event this year, and it's exciting just because there's so many possibilities that could come from it. If it goes well and everybody has a good time and the business is good business, I think it's big for the entire wrestling business, especially especially for the independents. So I'm very excited for that, for Bloodsport, and to have that responsibility of hosting WWE talent. So I'm very much looking forward to those, and I mean I'm looking forward to all of it. So I know that sounds cliche, but I mean this is our big 3 days of the year. This is what we work all year for, and this sort of this is where we meet the most new fans. Meeting new fans is how we grow. So this is kind of that opportunity where there's thousands of new fans, in proximity and attending our events. So this is it for us. This is our big one.
Now, the Shayna Baszler thing, that was pretty surprising. Obviously, I love Bloodsport. I love that style. Josh Barnett, one of his pupils, is Baszler. Is that just as simple as that? He asked her and she did it, or is there much other
No, there's much more
hoops?
to it. Of course, he's wanted to have her as part of it for years because of their connection. But there have been there's been discussions between Josh and Bloodsport and WWE for years, actually. WWE's been aware of it and they follow it. And for those who have followed Bloodsport and GCW closely, you'll remember back at the Bloodsport in 2019 in Jersey City, famously, Dean Ambrose and Canyon Ceman and William Regal sat up in the balcony right over the ring for the entire show watching. So they've been aware since and following Bloodsport um, publicly, at least since all the way back then. And I think there's always been ideas of what could be done and what couldn't be done and what they'd like to do and what we'd like to do. But with the powers that be in charge of the WWE at the time, those possibilities were a lot less likely. But now that we've seen some changes with WWE, I think the company as a whole may possibly be more open-minded going forward, and this is the start of that. So, I think Shayna Baszler's. I mean, yes, it makes sense to think that it was that simple, but there's way more to it, and there was other people involved, and well, there was other people involved, and almost more people involved. I'll just say it like that, and I'm excited to see what the future could hold.
Now, I did hear a rumor, although I think Joey Janela may have started this rumor. Your
Mhm.
favorite professional wrestler, maybe one of my favorite, Omos, may make an appearance at a GCW show. Is there any truth to that rumor?
I wish I had something to report on that one, and I wish I had that in the back pocket. But as of this time, I cannot confirm that Omos will be appearing at GCW. But maybe if we just wish hard enough, maybe someday it'll happen.
Is it true that he's one of your favorites, you and Joe?
And that
Janela?
is true. That is true.
I love Omos. Hey, when I was at the MSG show when Punk returned, he made like a surprise appearance. He killed R-Truth, but he got a huge pop, right? Lavie was there. He saw it. He got a huge pop at that show.
Yeah.
So Omos is over.
He has airport presence, as they say.
Yeah, he's a spectacle, and he's an old school style WWE superstar. So I'm a sports entertainment fan, so I can appreciate him.
Yes, for sure. Now, you guys have so much going on at the collective. I mean, do you ever like sit back, look back, and just almost like look at like the page or the collective page, be like, oh my God, like how did this all happen? I mean, there's so much shows and there's so much going on. I mean, the popularity of the collective is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes I do think about it, like and this is year number 5, I think, of doing the collective, or 5 or 6. I'm not even sure anymore because it's gone so fast. But I mean, yeah, there are times where I sit back and I think like, wow, look how big this has gotten, and it's kind of become its own entity almost. But at the same time, I can look at it and I say, yes, of course, this is what's became. This was what I wanted it to be. This was the vision from day one, and this is why we work so hard on it every year. So it's cool to look and see how popular it's become and how it has been able to attract the global partners and become a destination for not just independent wrestling fans, but wrestling fans every Mania week, every Mania season. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud that GCW is able to kind of lead the way in that respect. And I take a lot of pride in GCW sort of being the face of independent wrestling to a lot of independent wrestling fans, or just to a lot of wrestling fans in general. They may not know a lot about the indies, but they've heard of GCW, and I'm proud of that.
It's great. I mean, people think WrestleMania week, they think the collective, not just WWE, which is also great too, which I'm sure you had in mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love. Yeah, I mean, it's just an exciting week for wrestling. It's become a thing. It's not just WrestleMania weekend; it's WrestleMania week, and it's exciting every year. I'm a fan still. If I was not a fan, then I would not be doing this to the level of what we're doing. And it's always so exciting, seeing all the people and all the anticipation, and I'm just happy that we're a part of it.
And shout out to whoever does your graphics. They do a great job. Love the GCW, JCW versus the world. Looks like the old WCW versus the world video game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just all your graphics are awesome.
Yeah, well, we can give a shout out to Chris, who's been our graphic designer since almost day one, maybe like day 1.5. He's been here the whole time. So, Chris, you're doing a great job.
Now I'll hand it over to Lavie, who definitely has something in my neck of the woods as far as a possibility of a big show coming up.
Yes, and I wanted to, reinforce that with Chris's work. I actually invited him to the show over DMs. I'm not sure if you saw that, but if you have a chance, Brett, you could let him know that he's always welcome. So John was alluding to the fact that he's in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and we were having some fun and speculation about the big New Jersey news. So, Brett, we're not expecting you necessarily to break it here, but we wouldn't mind if you do. But if you could let us know if we're very cold, a little warm, or whatever it may be. My speculation would be that you'd run like maybe instead of Atlantic City at the end of the summer, maybe Asbury Park Convention Center, make it like a whole weekend type experience beyond one show. How far off are we?
Well, first of all, that's a pretty cool idea for sure. And Asbury Park's a great place with GCW history. So I would say, without any spoilers, I would say that you're possibly on the right track. And, I like Asbury Park, and GCW loves Asbury Park. So, I don't know about the convention center or whatever, but I would just say that, you could possibly be on the right track in your speculation.
Nice, thank you. So, probably outside of yourself, Brett, I'm sure your inner circle. As an outsider, I was excitedly following the Rochester news as sort of that homecoming special event for you. So whenever you come home, you never know who's going to be in the audience. So were there any surprises, like your middle school PE teacher that used to give you a hard time and is like, Brett, you made it? Or was it like just wrestling fans?
So there was no middle school PE teachers, nothing quite like that. But I did see a lot of friends and family that I haven't seen in years and years, and it was great to see them. And just kind of it did almost feel like a reunion of sorts. Not just getting to see so many of these friends that I haven't seen in a while, but also seeing them all together in one place at the same time. It was very special in that regard. These are people that, without GCW, I might not have seen for many more years to come. So it's it's like a very, I don't know, it's just a very cool thing that, like, yes, and maybe the PE teacher wasn't there, but this wrestling thing that was so stupid and was that I was supposed to give up on and grow up from, maybe when I was in middle school, that is the thing that brought all of us back together this many years later. And it just so happened that it was, as part of a sold out show for my company back home, finally.
Awesome. Yeah, it looked like a really cool venue. I was trying to figure it out by looking at their website. Are there like two spaces at the venue, and this was a smaller one, so possibly you could go to a bigger one? Am I off base?
So there is two spaces. This was the bigger one. And yeah, I was trying to figure it out when I was there. I didn't realize. Yeah, so this is the bigger side. There is another side, but I think it's more for smaller acts. We actually ended up using the smaller side for merchandise. So there's not much room. There's not a bigger space in this venue, but I think there's some things we can do to kind of maximize it a little more next time around.
So just sort of like, I guess, like a bird's eye picture, there's so many events being run, and it seems like there's certain ones that are staples. whether they're the A town or otherwise viable in other ways, and then others sort of get cycled in. You try things, some things work out really well, some things you have to build up, some it's not necessarily going to work out. Like, do you have like strategy set? Like, how do you figure this out? It just seems like things just keep going like 100 miles an hour.
They do, and there is no special strategy meeting. There's no, there's nobody running analytics and giving me answers. It's really all just, I don't know. I guess, I guess I just kind of have a feel in my head at all times on where GCW is at and where we need to go and where the right directions are in a literal geographic term. And I don't know. I guess I'm fortunate that the GCW brand name is so strong that it makes me look good a lot of the time. I mean, and we do pretty well everywhere we go. And yeah, I mean, I wish there was a strategy meeting. I wish I had time for that, and I wish that we were able to kind of maybe put more thought into it. But it seems like at this point, the way we're doing it is still working out okay. So I'm not I guess I'm comfortable just continuing going as we are.
Yeah, one of the markets that we've talked about before, but in terms of Pop's nightclub in the St. Louis market, I've noticed that the last couple, like it tended to be a show that was like you could see like just a couple of days out. Let me know if I'm exaggerating this, but like a couple of days out, okay, second row is still available and so on. But the last couple of times, it really seems to have picked up. It seems like you keep investing in the market, going back, building it up. Like, are you starting to see that?
Well, you're actually right. I'm so impressed that you noticed that because that's exactly how Pops has kind of been. It's always been a little bit of a slower, that's been a slower market over there. But the last two events, you're right. It has picked up dramatically. The last show we did there, which was, I don't know, what was it? March 1st. That was our biggest pre-sale yet in Pops, and I think in our 5 or 6 shows we've been there. And yeah, I think it's just I mean, yes, I do think it's a matter of reinvesting there and just staying committed and providing good shows. The fans have always been great there, and that's kind of what kept me going back there when maybe the numbers weren't as great as we wanted. It was just I love the venue, I love the fans there, and it's whatever other shortcomings there may have been, that made up for it. And now we're definitely kind of getting some returns on that, and it's all coming around. And I hope it continues to go in that direction, and we can continue to grow it up where it becomes one of our bigger draws. But it's doing okay, and if it was not worth going there, or if it was a loser business wise, we wouldn't be going there. So I do believe in it, and I think there's room for progress.
What's your next Montana? Meaning like a town that's underserved, that might work or it might not. You're not even sure how many GCW fans there are there.
Albuquerque, April 21st, Albuquerque, New Mexico. I mean, that's so out there, and I am so anxious to see what that's going to be like. I love going places like that, and it never ceases to amaze me that there are fans there that seem to know us. I mean, I'm sure some of it's just they hear wrestling's coming, but also there are definitely people that seem to know us. So, that's always cool to me, where you can literally just, in some ways, just, point your finger on the map and there's GCW fans there, no matter where you point it. Maybe there's not as many in some places as there are in others, but to know that we've kind of reached that level where there's an awareness almost anywhere we go, it's pretty cool.
So speaking of analytics, and like you're saying, sometimes things are moving so quickly, it's hard to have the opportunity. But I'm assuming with GCW merch, you have all of that data. I don't know if you have time to do like Google keyword alerts, but does like Triller Plus give you any data, like in terms of where views are coming from, or that's just not available?
So that's a good question. I mean, I don't currently get that from them, but it's not because they don't offer data or because they don't have it necessarily. Actually, I'm not 100% sure exactly what they have. When we were doing pay-per-views, when we were still doing the pay-per-view model, I used to get much more detailed data, at my fingertips and in real time. I could see who's watching and where and what countries. And of course, yeah, that was helpful. But what was really helpful to me early on was the merchandise. That was where I was able to see, where are orders coming from, what part of the country. And yeah, we still have that available to us. I'm not as hands-on in the merchandise anymore as I used to be. There was one time where I packed and labeled every single order that came in, but that's become almost a full-time job for the person that does it now, and I'm not able to do that anymore. But I do follow where the orders are going, and when I was doing it, of course, I was literally writing every label by hand. So I'm noticing there's a lot of orders going to the Chicago area or Illinois and the Midwest, and it seems like there's more we can do out here, and that kind of helped guide us at that time. Or California, before we were going there all the time, it was, wow, there seems to be, some, a strong fandom for GCW out in California. That did kind of lead the way at one time. But at this point, it's, yeah, at this point we kind of, we have so many of these anchors now in place, and it's just a matter of not necessarily, I mean, there's not much, I don't know how much more that data would point us in the right direction. I mean, is there maybe a secret fan club in Montana ordering 40 shirts every month? I mean, maybe that would give us a little help, but outside of that happening, I think we're kind of on the right track right now, and we're in places where either everybody can get to or where we're going to go soon enough.
So talking about merchandise, to me, like something that really shows that a company is really getting out there is when you start seeing T-shirts away from the shows,
Yep.
WrestleMania weekend, like not in that town. So I took my kids to camp, of course, last summer, and I saw Dad dropping off his kid, and he was wearing a purple GCW shirt. So I had to do a double take. I was like, wait a second, because I wasn't expecting that. I never had a chance to go over and chat him up about it, but it was just cool to see it out in the wild.
Yeah, every once in a while I see it. And yeah, of course, that's the coolest, knowing that you've kind of transitioned in some ways into real life, meaning anything outside of the venue. And yeah, of course, that's very flattering and rewarding and humbling, walking through I see it, every once in a while. I was actually going through TSA at the airport a month ago, and my bag got whatever, my carry-on bag that I put through the belt got flagged, and they pulled me aside, and the guy went through my bag. I literally, of course I thought nothing of it. The guy's opening the bag, and then he starts to zip it up, and he said, "No light tubes and no doors, so you're good to go." So this TSA agent must have been a GCW fan, and so weird. Like, wow, there's people out there that watch us, and know, I guess, know who I am on top of that, which was crazy to think of. But it's definitely, slowly happened over the years. There's definitely more and more awareness, and we're leaking into the real world. So
are
cool.
the pizza cutters bought locally, or those are okay to travel with?
Pizza cutters. Well, that's another funny story. Actually, so yes, usually they are bought locally, and it's funny that you ask that, because when we did WrestleCade, a fan made a custom pizza cutter for Maki Ito. Like they decorated it and put a bow on it and made a nice special pizza cutter customized for Maki. And so Maki was staying in Philadelphia at the time, so we both happened to be going. We were both on the same flight, going from Winston-Salem or whatever it was, North Carolina, back to Philadelphia. And we got to the airport, and Maki said, "Oh no!" And I said, "What's the matter?" She said, "My pizza cutter. How do I get it home?" And I said, "I think you can send it through the machine." And she was very nervous about it, but she did put it in her backpack and put it through the machine, and it cleared. So for anybody wondering, yes, you can clear a pizza cutter through the TSA.
Nice. So going back to Triller Plus, it's a little bit under a year and a half. Uh, Working with them very closely, if my math is correct. So just how are things going? Are they exceeding your expectations? What are things like? And they're getting even more of a spotlight, at least Triller overall, with AEW having their pay-per-views now distributed in the US on the platform.
Yeah, so things are pretty good. I am satisfied with our arrangement. I was satisfied when I signed it, and I think that it's gone pretty well for both sides. It's so interesting. It's exciting and interesting at the same time, just to kind of watch how this Triller TV Fight Plus thing evolves almost on a weekly basis. Just seeing how it really is more than just a wrestling platform, and they seem, I don't know, I wonder. I mean, they're definitely onto something, in terms of creating a bigger, I mean, of course, subscriber base, but keeping things interesting and growing aside from what we've seen from other platforms. And I think, they're onto it in that, to make one of these things successful, you have to be more than just independent wrestling, probably. And I think that they're smart in that respect. And it definitely it's definitely been beneficial for GCW. And it's definitely led to new fans from us. Like, I know it has. I can literally see, usually like a Saturday is like a pretty slow day for ticket sales across the board, because people are just out, they're doing stuff. When people buy their tickets, it's during the week or on Friday when they get their when their paycheck hits. But whenever we have a show, like on a Saturday, and we play the schedule, we show the schedule graphic. I get a wave of ticket sales, and I feel like that's from people who may be watching for the first time and who say, "Oh my God, look at this! They go everywhere, and they're coming near me. I'm going to go buy a ticket." I really believe. I mean, that's the only explanation I can think of. The diehard GCW fans, they know how to follow our schedule on a daily basis. They know where we're going. They know when they're going, and I don't think they suddenly pick 9 o'clock on a Saturday night every time to buy their tickets. So I do feel like there's still a lot of first time viewers every time we have a show, and that's just because Fight has such a big base. And all you have to do is open up the app and scroll through and see what's on. It's very easy to try something new for the first time, and I think that's been one of the biggest benefits for us.
One of the cool little things from Eventbrite recently is that sometimes when you go to a promotions page, they bless you, or at least bless me with data. So one of the things I noticed with GCW is it says 38% of ticket buyers are return buyers. And when I compare that to some of the other brands, those are usually in the low 20-something%. So I'd imagine just knowing that you have that loyal base, that you have returning customers, it gives you, stability to take risks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, we're lucky and we're blessed to have such a loyal and strong and enthusiastic fan base. People, I mean, I see a lot of fans that or not just returning, they came to the last show or maybe the show before, but I see people that have been coming for years. So, yeah, we're lucky. I mean, it's just, and that, but that's the result of, just kind of the way that I've run GCW from the start, and making sure that we maintain and establish credibility with fans, and they know they can kind of trust us when it comes to a product or following through on promises, or taking care of fans or over delivering. I don't take any of them for granted. And yeah, all these years later, you see how it pays off, where people know when they see a GCW show coming, they don't even need to see the lineup. They know they're going to get their money's worth. They know they're going to get an exciting show, and they want to be the first to get tickets and make sure they have good tickets. And yeah, of course, it's great, and it does take a little bit of stress off, knowing that no matter what, there's going to be a certain number of fans that are there to support us right off the bat, the second a ticket goes on sale. So that, of course, that helps.
In terms of, and I love that you do this. Like, the spring break thing was the first time I was aware of like a pro wrestling promotion like spotlighting a talent, Joey Janelle, and then sort of like having their own sub-brand and like be spotlighted in that way. And has since been replicated GCW, and of course in other promotions in different ways. But I think like in terms of I don't know if you define a sub-brand, but sort of like Bloodsport, I think I'm wondering, like, is there now the room to like expand? Has there been those talks with Barnett? Like, I could see it like once a month, if the talent is available, sort of like building something, because it seems obviously it's built momentum, but it seems hard to do so if it's just like once or twice a year.
Yeah, I mean, it's. Yes, I think some of these there is room for growth, and then some of them, you wonder, are they so successful because it's only once or twice a year, and people know to look forward to it. We've branched off a bit with Effie's Gay Brunch, and we have done more blood sports outside of Mania Week. We didn't do any between last year's Mania and this year's with Bloodsport, but yeah, I guess it is hard to kind of figure out, how far you should push it, and also keeping in mind GCW is still running a full schedule as is. So sometimes it's just a matter of, well, where would we even fit it in, but yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about what could work and what might not work. But yeah, I mean, you saw Josh is actually doing a Bloodsport in Japan in June, so it'll be interesting to see how that does. I expect it to do very well. Josh is very passionate about this, and Josh doesn't like to fail. So if Josh is committed and determined, I would bet on Josh every time.
So, and he's been linked with these type of things before, but like it seems like somebody like a Matt Riddle would be a natural fit. But publicly he comes with his baggage, and I think in GCW there have been people that have a past, but they really like proven themselves, and they're either different or representing themselves in different ways. Like either speaking about Riddle specifically or just generally, like when somebody comes with like what's rumored to be or reported to be challenges or problems, like how do you suss that out? How do you figure out like, okay, are they going to be good for us? How do I know if they're genuine and like
yeah,
a good place?
Well, it's tough. It's tough because today's kind of today's I'm trying to think of a good way to say it. I mean, there are some things, or some things that people may have in their past that, they're very, very tough to overcome, no matter whether they've changed as a person for the better or, or you could say, or whatever. Sometimes it doesn't matter, it's hard to get that. There are some fans who are not interested in that. It's and maybe rightfully so, and maybe they have a point. Listen, this person did this, and it doesn't matter if they're a better person now because they did this at one time, and that's all that matters. And whether I personally agree with it or not, it doesn't really matter at this point. GCW has grown bigger than any one person. GCW is bigger than even me or what I think at this point. So, there may be people out there who may be deserving of a second chance or may have earned a second chance. But if the fandom and the fans are not going to support that, then what's the point? Is it worth the headaches or the hassle or making people unhappy just to try to give somebody, another chance. So it is tough. I mean, there are people that I've wanted to work with again that it just wasn't worth it from a business standpoint, and it wasn't worth subjecting GCW to that scrutiny. And I guess that's just the way of the world now. And ultimately, at the end of the day, like I said, my feelings aren't even most important anymore. It has to be what's best for the company. So just have to always weigh it out.
In terms of talents that are killing it recently, the Fatus, Jacob and Zilla Fatu, even as like a Laps fan, when Jacob Fatu was on, especially with Contra years ago, I'd be like, I have to watch this. But from the clips that I'm seeing, they're just killing it in GCW now. Like, can you reflect on their impact so far?
Sure. So, yes, they're killing it. Yes, they're very fun to watch. Jacob, Jacob's no secret. We've all known about Jacob for years now, and he's just an athletic specimen, and he can do things that not only do things that you don't think he can do, but he can do them with ease. And the cool thing about Jacob right now is he seems to be extra motivated, rejuvenated. He seems to be on a mission at this point right now, more so than I've ever seen before. And I don't know if that's, I think it's a combination of things. I think part of it is working with Zilla, but I think more so, he's a free agent right now. And I think, that, I think there's people watching right now that might not have been able to be watching the last few years. And I think he knows that. And I think we're in the midst of getting the best version of Jacob, and I think he's getting better every day, as scary as that sounds. As for Zilla, Zilla is just he is just raw talent, and he's still very new. And the fact that he's doing so well this new into the business and this new into the ring is really a testament to how naturally talented he is and gifted he is. And of course, we know his bloodline, pardon the pun, but he's got the pedigree. There's no doubt about that. And he's really starting to it's fun because from the first time that I worked with him not too long ago, just until now, I have been able to watch him grow, and just as he kind of is, this is really his first taste of being in the business, especially on this level. So it's just fun. Like every show, you can just kind of see him take it in and, see, this is how this works and this is how that works. And just having Jacob kind of to guide him has been a blessing, of course, for Zilla. And he's done well and he's getting better. And as a team, they're getting better. And it's very fun to watch.
Yeah, it's always cool to see how like members of those family in different strains tend to like populate themselves in certain promotions, and then it sort of grows like that without necessarily, if it's applicable, without necessarily saying who. Like, have there been some family members that are on television now that have come just to hang out in the back? Their schedules crossed over. They were in town at the same time.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sure.
What was the question?
Yeah, some members from like, have there been any members of the bloodline that have like hung out backstage?
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. I haven't seen any sorry, my dog is actually distracting me here. So there haven't been any bloodlines at the show yet, but I do know that I do know they're around, and I know that they are following. And I think again, I think that anything's possible in today's wrestling landscape. So I wouldn't be surprised if they did show up at some point. But I'm pretty confident they're watching from afar at the moment.
So on another front, in terms of the Indie Hall of Fame, which I think is awesome, and I'm always advocating for, like, as a Northeast guy, along with John as well, always advocating for, like, the staples, Tony Atlas, King Kong Bundy, Honky Tonk Man, really keeping things going in the early '90s. But with Steve Carino being inducted and Colby inducting him, I believe Colby's under contract with the NWA, but just in terms of a show-by-show basis, he just seems like he'd be a great fit with GCW. Has he been on shows? Have you talked to him?
Colby has been on shows, yep, and he's kind of been in and out over the years. And yeah, of course he's so talented and he's a great performer. And yeah, I don't think we've seen the last of him in GCW. He's a busy guy and he's got a lot going on. He's got a family, and yeah, it's just one of those things, when the rotation comes around, he'll be back. And yeah, you never know. When next time he comes back, he could be back for a while. You never know, really. But yes, I know him and I like him, and he's talented, and I'm glad that he gets to induct his dad into the Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah, which is pretty awesome. I think about, like, the Mortons in the same way. Like, the son is amazing and sort of in his own way, like next generation talent. So a cool surprise that you shared yesterday and hit the internet about the same time was this new book coming out, Visitors, by, I believe, your partner in GCW, Adam Abdallah of Orange Crush. What were your expectations for this? Have you had a preview copy yet?
Yeah, so Adam is my partner in JCW, and he's been a longtime friend of GCW and supporter. Yes, this book is very cool. I have not had a physical copy in my hand yet, but I've been able to look at a digital copy, and yeah, it's so cool. The photographer he used, Nick Karp, is such a talented photographer, and getting to document that trip in our show at Corrigan Hall. I mean, aside from the work itself, and these photographs are just, I mean, in my opinion, it's a way that we don't see often, behind the scenes in wrestling. But to me, this is so special, just that we have this, this this memoir, really, of what was a historic trip for us, and getting able to share it with the fans. Whether they're hardcore GCW fans or just casual fans, this is a project that kind of transcends that, and it's a human piece also in a lot of ways, almost like a what do they call it? A character study of multiple characters, and yeah, it's just so cool. And I give Adam credit with Orange Crush. This isn't his first wrestling project. His first, he's been doing his paperback books or magazines or whatever you want to call them for a couple of years now. There's been a few issues, but this is his most ambitious project for sure. Definitely the coolest. And I think as more people start to see it, I think it's going to spread and more people will talk about it. And I'm anxious to talk about it more. I know that there's going to be an exhibit coming up at the end of April, which it'll be on display in New York City, and there will be some events that coincide with that to help promote it and push it. So I'm excited to be a part of that as well and to watch it all.
Yeah, and thank you for the correction. I definitely meant the JCW, not to cause any confusion. Okay. And just give some promotion to the event on April 28th at the NADA space in New York, 311 East Broadway, second floor. So it looks like an amazing event. Unfortunately, it falls at the start of the second part of Passover, so I can't be there, but I was like, if I could, for sure. Brooklyn. I love the first show. Well, not necessarily the first show that you ever did in Brooklyn, but in Brooklyn when you were at the theater last year, and then I think it was supposed to be Matt Cardone's birthday. Some emergency came up, and it wasn't a celebration for that, but it was a great show. You returned again, but I think it's been a while. You might have been in Queens in the interim. New York's been a little bit quiet. I know it's just cyclical timing. Are they things are still good in New York in terms of the rotation?
Yeah, things are still good. I think the most recent date that we tried to get, it just wasn't available. So, you're on to the next, and sometimes the next could be a few more months down the road. But I think we have something else in the pipeline for Brooklyn. Not something else, but another date in the pipeline that that will probably be announced relatively soon. So if you're all the Brooklyn people out there, if you've been waiting, your wait will come to an end soon enough.
Awesome. And it's been a little while, I think, since your overseas trip. Is there some things in the work again?
Yes, we'll be back in Japan this summer. I can't announce the dates yet, but I'm actually very excited for it because we'll be working with some new people this time, and I think this will be a level up of sorts. With all due respect to everything we've done previously, I think it was time to kind of try to take things to the next level. So, unfortunately I can't make any announcements, or at least nothing with any detail other than to say that we'll be back this summer, and call it an announcement of an announcement. But we will be back, and hopefully I'll get to release some details soon.
Awesome. We take those. So last question, but it's a broad one for me before I turn over to John. So, Brett, when we've talked, sometimes, in terms of the way you're talking, sort of like this, you never know how this ride will go. We're very conservative. We can scale back and so on. But at the beginning of this call, you said something very interesting. You said you had a vision from day one. And clearly, to get to where you've gotten, you've had to have a vision. Sometimes it needs modification and changes, and things don't go well. But sort of like, what can you tell us about like the evolution? What do you hope to do? How do you hope to grow? Some of it is like, right, like on the ground, Japan. Okay, you might be going to a different venue or working with different promoters, but sort of like, what is your vision for growth? What can we expect sort of for like next steps?
Yeah. So, at this point in the game, my vision is, of course, my vision is always to grow GCW, but I've wanted to do this as organically as possible, and to me, growing GCW at this point is just going to new places and meeting new fans. And, I know sometimes that sounds corny, but that really is what it is. Like my vision or my hope is not, maybe one day we'll be on TV or to get a TV contract. That's just, I'm really just not too interested in that. So for me, yeah, like I've always wanted to, and from day one, I wanted to take GCW all over the world, and that's what we've been doing, and that's what we are doing, and taking GCW to all 50 states. I would love to do that. So, I know that's not, that might not be the, the spiciest answer, but I mean, that's really the truth. And, whether it takes 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years to do that, I think that's kind of the steady plan. And, could it change? Who knows? But yeah, I don't have any like, I don't think I have any delusions of grandeur here. I'm not trying to compete with WWE or AEW. I just want to compete with GCW. That's, I've always said that we are our number one competitor, and just trying to get better from where we were, the last show. So that's a lot in and of itself for me. You there?
Now, as far as the sorry about that. As far as the Hammerstein Ballroom, any thoughts of returning?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and I've been in sort of on and off communication with them over the last couple of years, and it's gotten as far as to, well, just theoretically, would this weekend be open, and well, what would this look like, and um, we've yeah, I mean, it's definitely been considered, and um, I would like to do it at some point, but I want to do it when the time is right, and I want to I don't want to force it. And here's the thing. I mean, last time we were there, it was sold out, and we set a record for attendance. And if we go back, I want to sell out and set a record for attendance again. So I just kind of want to wait for the right time, and I want to wait for the planets to be aligned and the momentum to be going in the right direction. And then when that time comes, I'm confident we'll be back.
As far as the Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame, that's one thing I love, because a lot of the indie guys that should get a lot of credit, should get the love, kind of really help the scene out big time. I love that you do that. So it's awesome that Trent Acid's going in. Obviously, Lavie mentioned Carino before, the Briscoe brothers, one of the greatest teams of all time, and even Kevin Hogan going in. So I love the Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame. I just wanted to point that out. And I know you guys do a great job putting that together, kind of giving some guys some light that maybe wouldn't get that light.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm a fan first, and I've been a fan for a long time, and I love independent wrestling as much as anybody. And yeah, I mean, these are guys, I think, even more so than the WWE Hall of Fame in a lot of ways. These are guys that deserve to be celebrated because what they did. I mean, they put in an equal amount of work and sacrifice, and their influence, these guys, their influence, lives on in today's independent wrestling and in the wrestling you see on TV. So guys like Trent Acid, or the Homicides, or the Steve Carinos, these are people who deserve every bit as much recognition as the Jake the Snakes and the Coco Bewares and the so on and so forth. So and of course there's so many more. I can only we can only do 5 or 6 people a year, but there's really hundreds out there that deserve to be in this Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame, and hopefully at some point they'll all be in. So yeah, it's just it is definitely a cool thing, and it's something that I do take a lot of pride in, of course. And yeah, I just I love that again that GCW can have its own little part in celebrating these people. But just for the record, even though GCW presents the Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame, I feel like this is a Hall of Fame for all of us. It's not the GCW Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame. It's the Independent Wrestling Hall of Fame presented by GCW. And I want people to feel like this is, again, for all of independent wrestling. And I think that they do feel that, but I like to make sure that people realize that this is not, this is bigger than GCW.
Now, before we let you go, give us one last big push for the collective, April 4th through the 6th in Philly, PA.
Yeah. 3 days, nonstop wrestling. If you're a wrestling fan, this is it. This is your weekend. This is your week coming up. GCW, the collective has everything. I mean, literally, if you're not able to attend in person, subscribe now if you're not already to Triller TV, powered by Fight Plus. Or 3 days. I mean, literally, you're going to see everything. Defy Wrestling, the best of the Pacific Northwest, making their collective debut. They're kicking off the collective, and they're bringing the big guns, no doubt about it. Kenta versus Gringo, and a whole lineup of really the best. And it all kicks off at 11 a.m. on a Thursday. So think about that. That's just the beginning. You're going to get Bloodsport, DDT, GCW, JCW versus the World, all of that in one day. That's just Thursday. Friday, Tokyo Joshi Pro, Progress, Spring Break, For the Culture. Again, that's 4 events. That's just one day that I just reeled off. Tokyo Joshi Pro sold out. Spring Break sold out. DDT sold out. Unfortunately, I have no more tickets to sell. So if you don't have a ticket, you have to subscribe to Triller TV, powered by Fight Plus, for just $7.99 a month. And then Saturday, yeah, Effie's Big Gay Brunch, the biggest one yet, sold out, by the way. GCW versus Tokyo Joshi Pro at 2:30. And by the way, there are limited tickets remain. So if you've been thinking about it, if you're on the fence, looking for something to do Saturday afternoon before WrestleMania, this is going to be the best of GCW and Tokyo Joshi Pro. And there's still limited tickets available. And then we'll come back Saturday night for the Cluster F at 11:59, featuring the Punjabi prison match, never been done in the Indies. And yeah, also limited tickets remain for that. But yeah, everything I just described happens in 3 days, in the span of 3 days. So every style of wrestling, almost every wrestler is going to be there. And yeah, this is it. If you're a wrestling fan, your week is right around the corner, and GCW is right at the forefront with the collective. So I look forward to seeing everybody, and I look forward to everybody watching. And let's go. Clock's ticking. It's almost time.
Where can everybody find GCW and even yourself on social media?
Yeah, so Twitter or whatever it's called now, X at GC Wrestling _, or you can follow me at Lauderdale11, or go on Instagram at Game Changer Wrestling. And I think those are the best places to really get the up-to-date information and stay on top of everything. That's where to go. So if you're not following, now's a great time to follow.
All right, everybody should be looking forward to the collective coming up for GCW. Brett, thank you so much for all the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. As always, I love doing this. This is one of the few shows that I will actually do anytime. So hit me up. I love doing it. I'll come back anytime.
That
Awesome.
means a lot, Brett. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, Brett.
Thanks, guys. Have a good afternoon.
You too. Bye. Now, Lavie, let's wrap this bad boy up and head towards the plugs. You follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. What about you, Lavie?
So follow me on Twitter or X Lavie Marg LAVIE MARG, and this is like sort of the best branded business of the business podcast, official business podcast of PW Ponderings, because this is something that they cover in great depth. Our notes for the collective came from PW Ponderings. They cover every GCW show. So if you want to hear about GCW, definitely go over there. You're going to learn so much more.
All right. Thank you, Lavie. Thank you, Brett. Thank you, GCW. Thank you, Collective. Thank you, PW Ponderings. Thank you, the Creative Control Network. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. See you right back here next week for a little business of the business. We'll see you next week, folks.